what might be one of the most custom and ridiculous looking Jeep Commandos maybe ever built. This is what we call the Franken'Jeep, a 1970 Jeep Commando Cj10, J10, Cj5, just a whole homologation of a bunch of different Jeep parts put into one that we built a couple years ago alongside a couple other shops like Nefarious Kustoms and Air to Find here in Las Vegas. This truck has been sold to a local guy here in Las Vegas, a local family, Chris and Lynette, and they love this Jeep. It's back here at the shop today getting a little bit of dingleberries cleaned up before we get back into the real nice driving weather here in Las Vegas. But while it's still way too hot outside, they wanted to bring it in. We can fix up a few little things, but while we have it, we thought let's make a quick YouTube video, show you guys all the ins and outs of this truck so you can just see how cool it is, how weird it is, and how fun it is to drive. For those of you who don't know, here at Hodson Motors, we build, restore, and give away classic trucks. This truck was not a giveaway truck. This was a truck that we built for ourselves, just for our personal collection. And then a family here in Las Vegas, they had to have it, and they were like, yo, what's it gonna take? And they bought it from us. So this is their truck now, but we just want to give it to you guys to see it. However, we do giveaway trucks like this that are really cool and weird and fun and four-wheel drive, cool stuff like this on our website, Hodson Motors. So make sure you check that out. If you're seeing this video and you don't know who we are, that's what we do. So let's hop right into it. This is a 1970 Jeepster Commando. These trucks were basically like a four-wheel drive station wagon sold in the 70s. They really weren't much of a Bronco fighter or a Blazer fighter. They were much smaller and really were pretty low to the ground from a factory standpoint, but were still four-wheel drive. They were kind of marketed to women and families, like you can pile your kids in and it'll do good in the snow still, but you can still go get groceries. The marketing on them was kind of funny, but they've turned into kind of a cult four-wheel drive mini Bronco type of deal. They're pretty small, but very, very, very cool. They're longer and more station wagon-esque than a Cj5, but they're not quite as big as a full-size Jeep like a Wagoneer or a Cherokee. So it's this weird in-between space, but they're very cool. They have a very cool body style, really cool full roof. So this one came to us when we bought it years ago. We probably owned this truck 6 or 7 years ago we bought it. And it came to us with what looked like a Cj5 front clip. There was two different styles of Commandos. We'll put pictures in right here. But there was two different styles. There was like the Cj5 looking front end, and then there was the, kind of looked like a Bronco front end. Two different styles. This was the more Cj5 looking style Commando. But the funny thing about Jeep is that Jeep repurposed and retooled everything. They were never wasting anything over at the Jeep factory. And so most Jeep parts are interchangeable and will fit. We had a Cj10. For those of you who don't know what a Cj10 is, Cj10s were never sold in America. They were only used by the Air Force and the Navy to pull airplanes with. They were airplane tugs. But they were sold in England as a civilian truck. It was the first one-ton Jeep pickup. So the Cj10 was this really goofy, weird-looking truck with the headlights in the fenders, not on the grill like all other Jeeps. We had a Cj10 here. We had the front clip, and we're like, let's mock it up, see if it fits. Put the Cj10 front clip on the Commando, and boom, with no fabrication required, just nuts and bolts, the Cj10 clip went on. We were thinking, that is freaking cool and way different. We'd never seen one, so we thought, okay, let's make ourselves a Cj10 Commando. And then my father, who I love dearly, is a wacko and loves to Frankenstein stuff, and he thought, you know what else would match? If we took some J10 front fenders. And the J10 front fender opening is the same as the Cj10 front fender opening. So let's graft on some J10 front fender openings onto this Cj10 front clip to get this wide body stance. We thought, great, let's do it. So boom, we got some wide body front fenders on the front of this Commando. And now we're thinking, man, it looks great, but the rear end is looking a little shabby. So we went back to our parts bin and pulled out some Willys pickup truck fenders. And we thought, oh man, if we cut 4 or 5 inches out of these Willys pickup truck fenders, we can graft it to the back of the body. And sure enough, the body lines matched, the fender well openings matched, and we welded on the back of the body. And boom, we got ourselves a wide body Cj10, J10 front end, Willys rear end Commando. So just in body panels alone on this truck, there are 4 trucks combined. A Commando, a Cj10, a J10, and a Willys pickup. So you get this really weird wide body, but it all kind of works in my opinion. Some people don't like it. It's obviously going to be polarizing, but it's all Jeep parts, and it's pretty funny. But at the end of the day, it looks pretty cool. All right, so as we walk around the back, you'll see some you'll see it's cool. It's wide body, you know. But another really cool thing on these trucks and what made this truck valuable to us when we first bought it was that it has a very, very, very good shape hardtop. This is the original hardtop that came on the truck. Normally these are rotted out, just absolutely destroyed. They're really hard to find, but they're really cool. They've got a great shape to them. These hardtops I think are really cool, but they're full convertible hardtops, so the hardtop goes all the way up to the front windshield. You might see some of these Commandos as little half tops or something like that. Can't remember the exact name, but sometimes you see them as a half top, sometimes you see them as the full top like this. But they're really cool, cool design. Cool little tailgate in the back, some gas struts to keep it up, and they work great. Back here you've got custom bumpers. These bumpers, front and rear, were both built by Cameron Chin of Nefarious Customs. Really cool off-road bumpers, some dimple dies. We just wanted to do some cool classic bumpers. The truck was already going to be really cool and custom, and we thought, okay, let's do some cool bumpers too. You know, I think when you're doing something like this, you don't have to stick with factory bumpers. It makes sense to run something cool like that. Down here in the wheel and tire department, it's something that I really love. This was the first truck that we ever ran Steelies on, and ever since we've done it, I loved it. These are US steel wheels. These are 18-inch steel wheels on 35-inch BFG KO2s. Cool little baby half moon dog dish center caps in there, satin black wheels. They're really cool. 18s on 35s are a cool look as well, so really nice. We really like those. Here's that front bumper, you know, just to drive home the Frankensteinness of it, you know. Cool plate bumper with a bunch of different tubing, you know, for a bull bar. They're cool. It's interesting. It's cool to look at, you know, and just kind of complements the whole Frankensteinness of the truck. All right, so the next truck that has parts on this truck would be like a 99 to 04 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. So these are Dana 44, leaf sprung Dana 44s out of a TJ Rubicon, I believe. Cameron Chin, same guy who did the bumpers from Nefarious Customs, he did the axle swap for us, so it's Dana 44s front and rear. These trucks would have came with like a Dana 20, puny little axles, and so it's nice to upgrade to these Dana 44s. So it's factory leaf springs from that truck, just with custom hangers, and then it's got a shackle reversal, so shackles in the back. It rides and drives and steers great. However, I will say, this truck fought us for months and months and months and taught us a very valuable lesson about pitman arms. When you're doing a custom classic truck, you know, people always talk about you need a drop pitman arm, you need to put a drop pitman arm on there, get your drag link, you know, closer down to the ground so you don't have bump steer. I would always advise against that. I'm not an off-road specialist, but what we learned with this truck is when you start with a drop pitman arm, you could be going too far, and then you get really terrible steering. Our steering was all over the place under braking. The truck was terrifying to drive, and we were chasing down the problem. We thought, okay, we got to do the shackle reversal, and that's when we did it at first. We thought maybe it's the shackles up front, you know, maybe it's the weight of this engine, maybe it's this and that and this and that. And then my buddy Zach, who owns Air Defined, he was like, dude, I think it's the pitman arm. I think we should just start from a factory pitman arm. So I bought a flat pitman arm, and sure enough, truck drove perfectly right afterward. What I learned from that is just to start with your factory pitman arm, drive your vehicle. If it drives good and doesn't bump steer, leave it. If you've got too much bump steer because your pitman arm's too short, then go find a drop. Go to a 2-inch drop, and if that's not enough, go to a 4-inch drop. But I think we went straight away with a 3-inch drop pitman arm on this, and it was just too much drop, and it steered like just absolute death. It was terrifying to drive. After the pitman arm swap, the thing was just perfect. Loved it. So far we have 4 Jeeps to make the body, a 5th Jeep to make the axles, and let's see what's under the hood real quick. One of the only non-Jeep parts, but just lending to the Frankensteinness of this Jeep, would be this LS1. So this would have came out of a Camaro, so like a 2000s Camaro would have had this LS1 in it, and found this bad boy, and we thought, you know, this Jeep, it had a 454 in it, which was already Frankenstein. We didn't care, but the 454, if you guys know, big blocks run hot. They don't have big enough water jackets that run through the motor to really keep them cool. Small little radiator like this radiator may only be 18 inches wide. Wasn't enough to keep that 454 cool. We were always fighting it. We thought, you know what, let's just slap an LS1 in there and make it run like just perfect. And this thing absolutely does run perfectly. We'll go for a test drive here soon, and you'll see this thing is a blast to drive. I love this engine. I love an LS swap. It's not the most complicated thing in the world. It's not the most custom thing in the world. Everybody's got an LS swap, but everyone's got an LS swap for a reason, because they run freaking perfect. They run so good. So, and a truck that was already Frankensteined, you know, to high noon, an LS1 was great. So we've got an LS1 here, and then we have a 4L80 out of a late 90s Suburban. So rebuilt 4L80, rebuilt LS1, and they pair it up great, and it runs great, it drives great, it shifts great. So it's great, but there's 2 more vehicles to add to our vehicle list. So far to make this truck, we were at 7 vehicles. let's go hop inside and we'll show you the upholstery. So I am still to this day in love with the upholstery in this truck. We've got a beige headliner, beige dash pad, and then from the dash pad down we have all black carpet and then brown seats. So brown buckets and a brown bench in the rear. These seats are really cool. These are the Levi's edition seats with the buttons in the seats. They were obviously reupholstered. Those Levi's seats were literally like Levi's material, jean material in the seats. We had some, but they were just beat to death. But we thought, well, let's keep the buttons because the buttons are original and very cool, but let's reupholster it. So that's what we got here. So this puts our total now up to 8 different vehicles because now we have CJ5 Levi's edition seats, front and rear, in our Commando. So now we're at 8. We took us, 8 different trucks to build this, but I love the upholstery scheme in here. I love how light it is. It's very comfortable. It's very nice to sit in. The driving position's wonderful. We've got our low car shifter there, which looks like a manual shifter, but it's an automatic shifter. Our really cool waterfall center console. One of the things that we're doing while we're in here is touching up some of the blacks, and we're gonna do a really deep interior clean on this thing. They drive this truck. They absolutely drive it all the time, and so it's getting some wear and tear, and we're gonna get in here and clean these seats up and get as much of the grime out of them as we can. They've had it now for about 2 years. They got it on Mother's Day 2 years ago, and they've driven it a ton, so that makes me really happy. But that means we've got some dingleberries and some cleanup to do. But with that being said, let's hop in and we'll go for a cruise. One of the great things about an LS swap is that they start so easy every time. The thing can be parked for weeks and it'll just start so easy. Some of the other niceties about this truck that we added to it when we first built it is we got stuff like our Retrosound radio here, our Bluetooth radio. That works great. We have a backup camera in our rearview mirror here. We've got digital gauges from Dakota Digital. This is the only gauge cluster that, I think it's the only gauge cluster I know of besides the factory gauge cluster that will fit these trucks, is that Dakota Digital gauge cluster. I love doing digital gauges and everything. I think it is a necessity, absolutely, because having no gauges or having old school gauges that don't give you accurate data is not very fun. It's not very confidence inspiring. We've got vintage air conditioning over here as well, which blows cold and works wonderfully and makes it absolutely able to drive in the summertime. This LS never overheats, and I mean, as long as you've got water in the radiator, so you can run it with the AC on even in the summertime and keep driving it. Another really cool thing we have in here are these electric power windows, but they work off of the switch is in the door off the manual regulator switch from a company called New Relics. They work great, and they can make custom window regulators for any truck, even if they don't have it listed on their website. If you take out your manual regulator and send it over to New Relics, they can make you custom power windows for your truck if you just send it to them, and then they'll send it back to you, and it'll bolt in, and it's great, and they work great, and they go up and down so fast, like cut your hand off guillotine. So we run these in all of our top dollar builds, and I really like it. So yeah, let's talk about how good this thing sounds. I think here inside you can hear that it's, you get a good exhaust note, even though we've got full stainless exhaust all the way out the back. It's got some shorty headers up front, but it sounds great in here. It's not overly deafening, but sounds good. The ride is great. If you're not used to leaf sprung vehicles, you might think this thing rides rough, but I think it rides phenomenally. It's a short little vehicle, and so even with the steering as good as we could get it, a short, tiny little vehicle like this that's jacked up on 35s is always going to be a little bit more of a, you got to drive it. It's not like driving a car where you just one finger the whole time, but this thing is absolutely one-hander for sure. But it runs great, drives excellently, sounds so good, and has plenty of power. You can pass anybody. This thing is actually pretty stinking quick, and I love it. I love driving this truck. Every time I get to get it back from Chris and Lynette, I am so pumped afterwards because I'm like, okay, I get to drive this thing for a few days, and it is just too cool. But some other things that we did is it's got Hydro Boost brakes, so brakes are incredible. And Hydro Boost, if you have a Classic and you have the money to spend, Hydro Boost is the way to go. Makes driving things so much better. Just so much more confidence inspiring to have Hydro Boost. But the thing just is an absolute blast to drive, really comfortable to sit in, and then you can still get a couple kids in the back seat and cruise around town. Lynette and Chris, the owners of this truck, they have 8 children, so they're never going to be able to pile all their 8 kids in the Commando. But when Lynette doesn't have to haul around all her kids, she has a cool run around town truck, And I've actually seen her out and about driving it to job sites and stuff like that. It's really cool. They own a construction company, and I've seen her out driving it to job sites. It's awesome. So the thing just drives so stinking good. Man, she can freaking scoot. For an old truck that's this short and stubby and this tall, I would not want it any faster than this. This thing is absolutely plenty fast. And man, yeah, if it was any faster, it'd be terrifying. If you ever driven a Coyote Swap Bronco, it's like an early Bronco, 67 or 66 to 77 Bronco. That's what this feels like. They're so short and stubby with so much horsepower that like it's just terrifying to put your foot all the way down because they're just, you know, they've got way too much power for the size. But this thing's a blast, and this was one of those trucks that when it was said and done, I think we had this thing finished for all of 2 weeks before we sold it. And I was pretty upset about it. I like to get them done and drive them and enjoy them for a little bit, but Chris and Lynette wanted it. Well, Lynette wanted it. It's a great story. Lynette saw it, she wanted it. Chris hit us up, was like, hey, I gotta have that for my wife. 2 weeks later was Mother's Day. I drove it out to their house on Mother's Day, and all their kids came out. They had 7 boys at the time. They have 1 daughter now, 1 little baby girl, but all 7 of their boys came out and stood in front of the truck on the street, and we you know, they opened Mother's Day presents, and then they said, we got 1 more present for you outside. And she came out, and there was her Commando. And I was nervous. I was very nervous, like, just that, you know, if you buy, Chris is buying this Jeep for his wife without telling her, you get nervous that she's going to turn around and say, hey, I didn't really want that. I was just saying, like, that would be cool to have. You know, I was nervous. But man, she was crying. She was so excited, hugging me, hugging Chris, just so pumped. And it was a great day. It was really fun, and they've loved it ever since. So, and it's cool to see when somebody buys something like this, that it doesn't just sit in a garage and get nothing for love, get no driving. This thing gets driven all the time, and I think that's the best part about it. Oh, there you see another one of our added features I didn't talk about before. Amp steps. The truck's not that tall. I don't think it really needs it, but who doesn't like to have a little nice step to help you up in there? So with that, the thing is awesome. It runs great. It drives great. It is a blast to drive. This is like a great daily driver of a classic pickup if you're going to daily something every day to work. This thing is freaking rad for that. You know, we get this question a lot when we're giving away a pickup truck, is why didn't you just sell it, or sell it to me, I want to buy it, how much do you want? And I really don't love selling these trucks because the majority of the time they go to somebody, it just sits in their garage, they never drive it, they never get it out, it gets added to a collection. We give away these trucks because every winner we've had has been just a normal dude, and you know, we love that. We want somebody who wants to have a classic, who wants to drive it, who wants to get it out, and we don't want it to just be part of somebody's collection where it's just never going to get out, never going to get driven. So normally we don't sell them, but it makes me very happy that Chris and Lynette drive the crap out of this thing. It makes it worthwhile to sell it to somebody like that who's actually going to get it out, going to drive it all the time. It makes me feel good about it, so I love that. But with that being said, that's all for this video. This truck is rad. I can't wait to get working on it. Fix up all the little dingleberries. You might have heard in the video a little squeak from the serpentine system. You know, we got to touch up some black, do some things here and there, just clean it up for them so that they can have it back and ready to go by fall, when it's really nice in Las Vegas and you can drive your classics every single day. Here in Vegas, it's really hard to drive your classics from, you know, June to September, but from end of September all the way back around into May, you can drive your truck every single day because we don't get a lot of moisture here. So you can always drive them and they'll never rust out. So we're gonna get this thing cleaned up for them, get it back to them by driving season. And but yeah, thanks for watching this video. If you like classic trucks, you want to see more like this, make sure you subscribe to us here on YouTube. We're putting out a video at least every other week here on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe to us. And then if you want to see cool pictures and what we're doing every single day, we post a ton on our Instagram at Hodson Motors, so follow us there as well. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.